playing, all of a sudden it's like way out there.
So how did you get started at Disneyland?
It's a long story.
We have time.
I worked at Shakey's Pizza Parlor back in the old days.
Yes, I remember.
And I had a day job painting signs at FedMart, which became the Target stores. So anyway, Bud Yeoman, who owned 8 Shakey's Pizza Parlors, he also knew Wally Clearman, that owned the Northwoods Inn in San Gabriel on Roseview Boulevard, up there where the Rose Parade goes by. So anyway, then I got to meet him, then they needed a piano player for Monday nights. So then I did the Shakey's Wednesday through Sunday, and I worked Monday through Friday at painting signs, and then I did Monday night over there. So I was playing all the time. So then Wally Clearman knew Mr. Stratter from the Stratter Hotel in Durango, Colorado. So then he was over, and Bud Yeoman and all 3 of them there one night at Northwoods Inn, and said, Mr. Stratter, who was like 90 years old, and says, I'd like to have you come over to Durango and play for a few nights. You know, I said, well, how do I get away? I said, well, you know, not too long. He said, well, maybe like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night thing. I said, yeah, that could work. And I thought it'd be kind of cool because it was in June, but then I would love fireworks, so I could go buy all the illegal fireworks and ride them back to California, which I did, you know. And I learned from another kid, we used to always go buy fireworks. We would just put shorts on and throw towels over the seats, and the guard would always say, where are you guys coming from? Oh, Lake Havasu. Yeah, go on, get out of here. Trunk would be full of fireworks. I mean, that's how close we got to getting caught. So anyway, I was over there playing, and Sonny Anderson, who hired me, wanted me to play at Disneyland, and I said, well, how much do they pay? And he goes, $6.26 an hour. And I said, well, I'm making $10 an hour. And he said, well, we can't pay you that much. I said, well, then I guess I'm not going to work there. And he bugged me for 2 days, and I said, I'm not, you know, I make $10 an hour. He said, well, we just can't pay you that much. Well, then 3 months later, I had belonged to the Maple Leaf Club, which is a ragtime club of the good ragtime players, like you had Johnny Maddox and Max McGrath and Joe Fingerscar, Lou Bush. And then there was Jim Hessian and Dave Board and Dick Zimmerman, who was a magician, worked in the Magic Castle. He could sit there with no sleeves or anything, take a peanut and go, it'd be just gone. I don't know where the heck it goes. He did that to a waitress one night at the Northwoods Inn, and she said, "What?" He said, "I just do this and they just disappear." And she said, and he says, "It's just a problem. Every time I pick them up and do that, they disappear." And she said, "Well, just don't do that, and they won't disappear." So anyway, then we had a Maple Leaf Club there, and Johnny Maddox was there, Max McGrath, and a lot of, and Ian Whitcomb from England, he was there that day, and I was there, and Sonny Anderson was there looking for a piano player still, and said, well, we found you're not getting away this time. And I said, oh, really? He said, well, we decided we could pay you $8 an hour. And I said, oh, really? So, well, I make $10 an hour. Seemed to have forgotten. And after the thing was over, then later I played that night, so then a banjo player I knew came in, a tuba player came in, you know, it was just guys who come in and just have fun. We just had a party, you know, it was just like party time. So after it was over, he sat there, and Sonny Anderson said, I need to talk to you. So I sat there, and he said, if we give you the $10 an hour, will you start this Saturday? And I said, yeah, I guess I could try it. And he said, well, if you could just do it for 2 weeks. If you don't like it, you quit. You know, the old hook and line thing, you know, just get him in once, they'll like it. So anyway, so I said, well, what time of day do I play? And he goes, well, you work 10 to 5. And I go, in the morning? Well, yeah, we're only open 10 to 6 because they're closed Monday, Tuesday. This is 1969. So anyway, I go out there and I do my thing. And he said, well, why don't you come in October 1st? That'll be a Wednesday. Just kind of get the flavor, and I'll get you, you know, at Harbor House. I'll sign, you know, bring you in. It was so easy in them days. And he said, just wear your little costume you got, and then it'll be fine. So I did. Of course, the piano bench was too low, and I had phone books to get up high enough. And so I did that. And the very next day, or the following Saturday from the Wednesday, out comes the little supervisor with a contract for me to sign. Which I said, Sonny wants you to sign this. I said, well, if Sonny wants me to sign it, I guess he'll come out here with it. So the next day, out they come again, you know, and then the next Saturday, I guess the word had got back to Burbank that they had this new piano player. And the bigwigs all came down. Carl Walker was the head of entertainment, or the park at the time. And I didn't know any of these people. I came from a farm. I didn't know anything but cows and pigs and chickens and horses and all that. And so this other kid that was there, it was Jay something, he knew them all because he worked with the animators. And so he said, just a moment, and he got up and he went around stood there. He came back later with this big smile on his face and goes, well, they said you're worth $1 million. I said, oh, really? So first they wanted me to sign the contract today, and I said, no. Sunday came, the last day of the 2 weeks. So Sonny comes out, he comes in the side door there. He's standing there with the brown envelope, and I get done, and he says, so you haven't signed my contract? He says, yeah, I know. He says, so you really don't like working here? I said, oh, it's all right. He says, well, why don't you sign my contract? And I said, knowing what I had heard, see, I said, Disneyland is open Wednesday through Sunday, isn't it? And he said, yes, it is. And I said, if I work Wednesday through Sunday, I'll sign your contract. He goes, well, I just can't make that decision right here. I mean, he was just lost for words, you know, to say. And then all of a sudden he says, I tell you what I'll do. He said, here's what I'll do. He put the contract in the because he wrote Wednesday through Sunday, 10 to 5, and he drew a line, and he says, and he put a tentatively. And he says, now if you sign this, doesn't mean that you're stuck on a 2-day-a-week thing. You sign this, you'll do Wednesday through Sunday, and if I can't get that approved, then it's your choice whether you want to continue Saturday and Sunday or not. I said, okay. I said, well, how soon will I find out? He said, well, give me a couple of days. The next morning, he called me before I went to FedMart to paint signs, and he said, on Wednesday you start. You're going to be the first full-time piano player to work at Coke Corner. I said, okay, so I'm going to work. I'm all excited. I said, this is my last day to the man. You can't quit. I said, watch me. He said, well, who are we going to get paint signs? I said, I really don't care. So I worked at Disneyland 5 days a week. Then I worked at Shakey's 5 nights a week. That's how I could buy a house in 1973. So, and then I go from Disneyland. You know, when you're young, you get all this energy. Now it's just great to get up. But I worked there, then I worked Shakey's till midnight. Then we went to another place just another couple miles down the road called the Barrel House. A lady named Gloria owned the place, and she had a banjo tuba player that played there. So we'd go down there and play from like 12, and the whole crowd of Shakey's would just clear the place out, and we'd all go down there, and she had like spaghetti and sandwiches and different things. So a lot of people would go to Shakey's and they would just sit there and then listen to the music. Then they'd go down there and get some food. And then I'd play till 2, and then she'd take the band and myself, and we'd go to the Honey Bear restaurant. She'd feed us breakfast, and I'd get home like at 4 in the morning. I'd be back at Disneyland at 10 o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
And we did that on Friday and Saturday night. And then of course when Monday came, I was like, boom, dead. Then I worked for the Northwoods Inn, you know, so it was like I was playing all the time. And I had a player piano, that's how I learned to play. And I got all the records by Joe Finger's Car, whose real name was Lou Bush, and Johnny Maddox, and Joanne Castle was on the Lawrence Welk Show, and Knuckles Old Tool. And so that's how I learned to play.
You learned to play on a player piano?
Yeah, you know, you pump the roll, you know.
Yes.
And now I got one of those Yamaha disc clavers. You just hit the button and you can record things or slow things down or change key. I mean, it's just terrific. But that's the way I learned things. And so Joe Finger's Car, I used to call and talk to him on the phone. I'd find an old record, you know, one of his records, and I'd call. And in them days, you could get anybody's phone number. You just call the operator.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here it is. You know, nowadays everybody's got block numbers, including mine. So I learned a lot of his technique because a lot of things that people would do if you were doing like 4/8 Clover. See, it was just octave. But his whole thing, instead of doing that, his thing was you start from the C. See, he gets a lighter sound and go. It gets a more bouncier fun. So